Hey everybody, and welcome to Twin Talk, a video discussion show where twin brothers Chris and Kevin drink and draw while talking about comic books, movies, and all things pop culture. We're your hosts, Chris Hart,
Kevin Hart,
and tonight we're going to be talking about Venom.
Venom. Venom. Get that adrenaline. Venom, the only illegible word. Stick around to the end of the episode to see how a drawing of Venom came out. If you like what you see, subscribe to the channel for more content.
Venom is a 2018 film directed by Ruben Fleischer, starring Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, and Riz Ahmed. Pretty good cast. Going into this movie, I remember being confused as to why it was being made. The rumor is that if you turn Venom's logo backwards, it spells money.
Money.
The reason that the film was made.
Absolutely, man.
And especially with the Disney-Fox merger with Marvel and everything going on with who owns what with the comic books, superheroes, and villains. Sony kind of like just
rushed.
Just kind of making things because they had the rights to things and wanted to keep it and make more money. They would have to give the rights back if they didn't make a movie. So here we are with Venom. This is the first time I've ever watched it because, was it 4 years ago it came out? Mm-hmm. 4 years ago it came out. I had no interest in seeing this movie. Still didn't, but I had to do it because the new one's coming out. And I actually am looking forward to the second one. Mm-hmm. The trailers have got me excited. Yeah, I like Woody Harrelson. Carnage is a cool character. Venom's a great character too. I just wish that it would stick with the origins from the Spider-Man comic books. Obviously they couldn't do that with the rights issues. And even now, like after post No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm pretty sure Tom Hardy recently said that they're eventually going to meet Spider-Man and Venom.
Andy Serkis, too, the director of Let There Be Carnage, has already been outspoken about that they're eventually going to meet. Maybe not in this movie, but completely inevitable. It's Venom and Spider-Man. You cannot have one without the other, right?
Yeah.
And that's
that's the thing. This is the reason I didn't want to see this movie in the first place.
Yep.
Is because it had no Spider-Man.
Yep.
And that's kind of like, whereas DC did a Joker movie without Batman, it worked because they executed it as a film, as an art piece, with an amazing story and a character development.
There was depth to that movie.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's a completely shallow movie.
Yeah, it's bad writing, bad VFX.
Even with Tom Hardy, this is the dude has played Bane, right? Mm-hmm. And this movie, again, just a cash grab, money, backwards, Venom. That's it, because like without Spider-Man, this movie is nothing. First of all, he's in San Francisco, right? California. The complete opposite end of New York City where Spider-Man is located. I could see though like how they're eventually going to try and maybe plant the seeds and like the roots of how this character would be the Eddie Brock that we know and love with Spider-Man. It's not Venom without like the iconic Spider logo.
But and you can't have that without Spider-Man.
Can't have it without Spider-Man. But he's got like white, veiny cellulite in this movie.
I was okay with that. Like,
it's fine.
It's a good substitute. But like I was saying, like the reason I didn't want to see the movie is because there's no Spider-Man. It's like, oh God, it's like I said,
just disappointing.
Going back to the
around.
Joker thing, like Joker executed a movie without Batman, and they did such a good job that it even won awards. You know, This movie could have maybe gone in a direction like that where they. You know, obviously they focus on Eddie in the film, but like in the comic books, it's like the perfect host for this symbiote is Peter Parker's Spider-Man because it's like draining off that radioactive power, and you don't have that element here at all. So like the whole like spurned lover thing, you know, of the symbiote always hating Spider-Man because he abandoned him and then went to Eddie. Like none of that is there. So
it's non-existent.
All that like character dynamic is non-existent. But I could see where like this would have been a good starting point. Where like okay, introduce the symbiotes, and then eventually we'll get to Spider-Man and Carnage and all this stuff.
Do you remember the rumor of like the Jake Gyllenhaal space movie Life?
Yes.
And the fact that it's even the Life Foundation in this movie.
Yeah. I was thinking.
There was rumors about that movie that would have been like the symbiote on board that like space station.
Perfect.
That would have been a perfect prequel origin story of the symbiote. That was one of the cool things was the symbiotes. It was kind of like that horror element. They came to Earth and they were kind of speaking about their planet before this, which I would love to see eventually if they do that.
A little bit more story with that, yeah.
Because I do believe there's a comic book series where they do go back to like the symbiote's homeworld. That would be cool down the line to see that, but you know, until then they have yet to like perfect this Spider-Man Venom world.
I will give them credit because the opening credits, I was kind of hyped. I saw the spaceship. We were making fun of it a little bit too because it looked like the opening crawl to like Alien or Predator or something. And I was like, okay, like I would have been hyped in the theater if I seen this. Like, okay, like all right, they're sticking true to the Alien roots. Just give it to us full on. Give us this like body horror symbiote thing. We don't get that.
Yeah.
What we get is a buddy cop film starring an alien and Tom Hardy. And I remember when Tom Hardy was like cast in this, he made like an Instagram post or a tweet or something
With the Venom shirt?
With a Venom shirt, and he was like, "Let's do this." And I was like, "Okay, perfect casting." Like when I read the books, especially like the Todd McFarlane era, I could see how he would be like that Eddie Brock, like that big, bulky meathead almost.
Because there's a big contrast between Spider-Man 3, which we'll talk about
Topher Grace and this guy,
another video. But Topher Grace is not the epitome of Eddie Brock.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Tom Hardy is a physical embodiment of
he's perfect.
Eddie Brock, yeah.
And I remember being like really excited, like, okay, like I could see maybe they take a different direction and maybe his acting comes out to the forefront. He's not that great in this movie.
No, not at all. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that hurt. He's got like this like weird southern like like the way he talks is not how I picture.
Intelligent at all.
It's not intelligent.
Yeah.
It was a little bit better in the film because I had seen the trailer and I was like, this guy's a bumbling idiot. And then in the movie, I was like, okay, I was kind of buying into the Eddie Brock character.
He had like a parasite. Yeah, he definitely portrayed like being sick. He looks horrible in this film, first of all. His hair's disheveled, his eyes are baggy. He looks like he's got no sleep. He looks like he's like eating rotisserie chicken from the garbage, which he does in this film. And that part I bought into heavily. It was like, oh, okay, like this is a completely foreign object from space, you know, like we wouldn't know anything
literally
about
an
it.
alien.
Yeah, literally an alien that's like taking over him. So that was kind of cool. That was like the only cool thing about this movie was their relationship. Like him kind of talking in his mind and seeing him like kind of protect Eddie, who was like down and out for very stupid reasons, first of all.
Yes. That's what I'm
he
saying.
lost his fiance because she lost her job. Completely ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was buying into the first probably like 10, 15 minutes to the Eddie Brock character. I was like, okay, like he's doing a good job. I like him. I root for him. I like the leather jacket. I like that he's like this like podcast reporter almost of all these like shady things. So you're kind of like behind him. He goes to this Life Foundation with Riz Ahmed, who's also a great actor too.
Very good actor.
It's crazy to me that this movie has such great actors that just can't save it because the script is so bad, you know?
If you ever seen Nightcrawler, Riz Ahmed, or The Sound of Metal, I believe the name of it is.
Yeah.
Great films starring that actor. He's got the chops, man. Yeah, and this is just not the script for this guy. But they hit pretty hard the whole "have a nice life" thing because they say it twice in the beginning, and it kind of comes full circle at the end with Venom.
We get it. They're called the Life Foundation. Have a nice life. Oh. I was a little confused about Riz Ahmed's character, his motivations, his plot, which is kind of leads me to be excited for the new movie with Carnage because it's like, okay, like it was cool seeing his character Riot, this like I guess leader of some sort of symbiotes planet that he's got going on. I'm more interested in the symbiotes than the human beings. Yeah. And it reminded me a lot of like the Transformers movies.
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, I'm done with the humans. Bring me back to like Cybertron. Yeah, give me the Allspark. Tell me what's going on, the wars and stuff. Although, like I said, I really kind of like enjoyed Eddie a lot more than I thought I was going to. Based on the trailers and everything, I wrote this movie off completely. And I just watched it tonight for the first time, and I was actually a little bit entertained for the most part.
It's entertaining. It's not a great film. It's not a really bad film. It's just a very subpar film.
It's very like bleh, like very like middle of the road. There was a couple good shots by the director and cinematographer where, especially like when they had like the human trials in like the symbiote chambers and stuff. There's a lot of
very
cool, like,
scary
horror looking shots there. I was like, all right, cool. I like that. I'm feeling that.
Every time he said like open the back to tank or whatever, and like the symbiote came out, I was like, oh my goodness, I would.
But even
hate
the
to be in that
CGI, even the
scenario.
CGI, for, like the whole concept of it is great. It's like, all right, this horrific alien entity that's about to take over you. And I had a few problems with the rules too, because in the beginning they say that if it wasn't a perfect host, it would kill you and leave for the next one.
Right.
And then Venom...
And it leeches onto this, like, Malaysian 60-year-old woman for a good 6 months.
6 months.
And then a little 7-year-old girl. Apparently she's, like, the perfect host for this
But riot. I guess it could just, like, transfer from one to the next. I thought once it found its perfect host, that's what it would want to be with.
It was kind of decaying the host, too, which was a cool aspect. Is the reason why, like, Venom needs
which
to,
is
like,
why in the comics...
feed.
In the
Which is
comics,
kinda
Eddie
cool.
Brock got cancer after Venom left because he was like sustaining him,
Yeah.
but killing him at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That's an interesting take.
Mm-hmm.
I was just confused by the rules of this movie. I was also a little bit three sheets to the wind. So like it made the movie bearable, but it also didn't help the plot holes.
Right. I'm very excited the fact that Andy Serkis is directing the sequel because Ruben Fleischer, like, you know, whatever. The film made $1 billion, so obviously it had some sort of success. However,
800 million.
as watching this movie, it was like very quick edits, very jumpy, very choppy. A lot of even the CGI, like just a lot of like you would think as a creative person, you'd be like, okay, how does this physically work, logistically work?
Mm-hmm.
Tom Hardy's got like he's got those giant like 8-pound fists like above him. None of it looks like believable.
It just doesn't work.
None of it works. So like, you know, I'm not trying to nitpick, but like whatever, it's fine because even the rules from the comic book standpoint, Todd McFarlane's character Venom, I've always wondered like how is he breathing? Where's this tongue going? This like 6-foot tongue.
Yes.
Where is this tongue tucking into? Like any of this.
When he eats people, like does he digest it?
Does Eddie digest
Eddie?
it?
Like,
exactly. Knowing like the potential of comic book films, like you kind of want a little bit more effort. This movie was entertaining enough, but I definitely want a little bit more effort, especially with the sequel coming up. Carnage, Andy Serkis, a motion capture genius
master.
So hopefully he's got like a part in that movie, or can see like, oh, like no, this is how it's got to be done. Blah blah blah. Hopefully there's improvements made in the sequel. And that's one thing I want to say too, not to get too off topic, but like Eddie Brock. This is not the anti-hero character. You know, Venom's a villain. In the comic books, fast forwarding, Flash Thompson does become Agent Venom, who is an anti-hero, who does like do good. Eddie Brock is not that. Yeah. So like I don't know what they're trying to do. I understand like how they're trying to make him like in his own world, you have to make likable, relatable. Yes. There has to be like a bigger threat than him. However, like I just feel like it's the wrong approach. It's a lazy approach.
I would love an Agent Venom like 007 type movie.
Yeah, like I would rather. That's what they're like kind of like doing with this, but it's just not working because it's not the source material.
Well, that's the thing. Like you literally cannot set up an Agent Venom movie without the lore. You know, like
you're right.
Spider-Man rejecting the symbiote suit, that then becoming Eddie Brock's Venom, Venom then like getting rid of it, and then eventually it gets to Flash Thompson. Flash Thompson loses his legs in war.
It's just too quick.
There's a lot of like comic book history and character development that is lost, and they're trying to rush it just to make money.
But you said it too as I rewatched it. Like in the climax of the movie, Venom like sacrifices himself, right? And then he's just still with Eddie somehow. Bizarre.
Like the next day, he's talking to Anne again. He's
right.
Like,
yeah.
She's like, "I'm so sorry about what happened to Venom. You know, he like sacrificed himself. He got burnt." I was glad to see that they showed that fire was also a weakness because fire and sound.
But then Venom's just like,
and they just talking to him again. It's like, oh, there's probably a scene that got deleted.
That's one thing too. Is like Tom Hardy is apparently the voice of Venom. It sounds like he's just burping into the microphone, although.
It sounded great.
On my soundbar.
It sounded really
in the
good.
theaters. I was like, "This is so stupid." Blah blah blah. On my soundbar, I was like, "It sounds pretty metal, dude." My favorite scene definitely was, I think it was in the trailer where like Riot and Venom are like fighting each other, and the hosts and the symbiotes are fighting, and it's just a really cool look. The movie doesn't look that great. However, this is the one good scene in the movie where I was like, "That looks really cool." Overall, it's not what I wanted. I'll take it. I am excited about Carnage because obviously it's a huge character in this lore. I want Venom to be more of a villain going forward, and it seems like that's the direction they're heading with Tom Holland and Tom Hardy and Andy Serkis and the MCU, multiverse, and all that other stuff. But grade overall, I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10 for this movie alone. It's not perfect. The CGI is kind of like shoddy.
Yeah.
The story is definitely kind of weak, but overall I had a good time with it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit lower for sure. I'm gonna give this movie maybe like a 5.
Yeah, barely passing.
5.5 maybe. I want to like it more than I actually do because I love Tom Hardy. Big Tom Hardy fan. I just feel like the editing is so bad, the CGI is bad, the VFX like green screen stuff. Like there's just so much bad that outweighs the good. And I could buy into the fun like buddy cop vibe of Eddie and Venom, but there's not enough there to save it for me, and that's why I'm going to give it a low score of 5. Although I do hope that the sequel will be a higher grade because I do believe in Andy Serkis, Tom Hardy, and
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson
Yeah.
coming as Cletus Cassidy's
Hopefully
Carnage.
it kind of like redeems the franchise a little bit and makes us more excited for Venom with Spider-Man in the multiverse. I mean, the best part of this film either way is the Eminem track. Shady had to come in and save this franchise. What did you guys think about Venom? Are you excited for Let There Be Carnage? Let us know in the comments below.
Be on the lookout for our upcoming content. We're going to be reviewing every Spider-Man movie leading up to No Way Home in December. That includes the Raimi trilogy, the Venom movies, the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and the Tom Holland movies, everything, and even the animated Into the Spider-Verse. We're going to be doing it all, so be on the lookout, because we got the bug.
We got the bug, dude.
The radioactive bug.
Anyways, that about wraps up today's episode of Twin Talk. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment below to join the discussion, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll see you next time. Peace!